going to give you some mistakes to avoid when you're trying to land your first paralegal position. Hi, I'm Ann Pearson with the Paralegal Boot Camp. Let's jump right in. So you went through your paralegal certificate program and now you're looking for a job. But unfortunately, the fact that you've spent all that time and money preparing yourself to become a paralegal can feel fruitless when you're struggling to find that first paralegal job. Of all the posts I see on social media, whether it's in Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, this is the biggest struggle for new paralegals. How do I get my foot in the door when everyone says they want 2 or more years of experience, but no one's willing to give me that experience? There could be things that you're unknowingly doing that are preventing you from landing that first paralegal job. And I'm going to talk about the big 3 in this video. Number 1, your resume has mistakes or formatting issues. When you're trying to land your first paralegal position, you must make sure that you have absolutely no mistakes in your resume. This may seem like a no-brainer, but you would be surprised at how many people send out resumes with typos or other areas. Usually it's just because you're in a big hurry to get that resume submitted. You're excited. You're better off submitting it the next day if that means you have extra time for another proofread. I would recommend that you have at least one other person proofread your resume before you start applying for jobs. And be sure to tell that person that you want their brutal honesty. If it's your mom and she doesn't want to hurt your feelings, that does no good whatsoever. Look, I'm just going to be blunt here. If you can't take the time to make sure that your resume is perfect, you are going to struggle, and it's going to take you a lot longer to land your first paralegal position. Here's a good litmus test. This is to test if it's your resume that's holding you back from getting a position. How many times have you submitted your resume compared to how many times you've received an interview request? If you've submitted your resume to 30 or 40 employers and you've not received a single call back, then it's probably because of something in your resume. Okay, let's move on to mistake number 2. You use a boilerplate cover letter addressed to whom it may concern, talking about how much you would be a great asset to this company. You should write a strong, specific cover letter for each and every position that you apply for, instead of a copy and paste version that gets sent to everyone. This is especially important when you have no paralegal experience. You have to find a way to connect your life experiences and transferable skills to the paralegal position you're applying for. A resume doesn't necessarily do that. The cover letter is the best way to do that. Mistake number 3, you go into the job interview with the wrong mindset. I've got 2 different areas of the mindset that I want to talk to you about. The first one is the mindset that you are capable of doing this job. That's the mindset you must go in with. Even if you lack the hands-on paralegal experience that they're looking for, that doesn't mean that you can't quickly learn the ropes, assuming you're going to be getting some on-the-job training or you've taken some paralegal boot camp courses. You know, I've conducted hundreds of job interviews over the past 3 decades. And you know which one stands out the most in my memory? The one I didn't want to do. When I was a paralegal manager, I was approached by a senior partner who said his longtime client and friend, an in-house counsel at a big corporation, this client's brother's wife's sister or something like that, she was moving into town and was looking for a job. The partner knew I was hiring for a paralegal position and asked if I would take a look at her resume and give her a courtesy interview, meaning you don't have to consider hiring her, just agree to interview her. So I did, reluctantly, because it's not like I didn't have dozens of other things that I could be doing with an hour of my time. Her resume looked good, no errors, great cover letter. The problem was she only had an undergrad degree, no paralegal certificate, no paralegal experience. In fact, no legal experience, I don't think. But I agreed to interview her. She showed up to this interview with such a vibrant personality confidence, comfortable, easy to talk to. And well, she just thoroughly impressed me. I knew from how she answered those questions and from her attitude that she'd make a great paralegal for that particular team I was hiring for. I convinced the attorneys on the team to interview her, even though they said the same thing. Okay, as a favor to the partner, sure. But you realize she has no experience, no paralegal certificate, nothing. Yep, I realize that. But I need you to see what I saw in that interview. They interviewed her and agreed that she would make a great fit on their team. And with a willingness to learn, she eventually became a great paralegal. She got the job. I trained her. And you know what? She was a great paralegal. No experience, no certificate. She got the job because of her mindset, her attitude, and a perfect resume that didn't mess up her chances at getting the interview to show that side of her. Now, I want to tell you a story that's the complete opposite about how your mindset and attitude in the interview could hurt your potential for landing that job. And that story is mine. Not a lot of people know this story. Well, I guess they will now because I'm out there. But not a lot of people know it. But I think it's important to tell. If you've been a part of the Paralegal Boot Camp world for a while, you know that I started the company in 2010. So it's been a while. Well, when I first left Big Law, what I fondly refer to as Big Law, and the concrete jungle, I would frequently get contacted by recruiters wondering if I'd be interested in this position or that position, which I wasn't. Until one day, a couple of years in, the business recruiter, some kind of business recruiter called me and asked if I'd be interested in applying for a position at an AmLaw 10 firm, and it was a director position. It was a huge leap from an AmLaw 100 firm, a management position that I had before, and I thought, well, the worst that can happen is that firm now knows my company name and maybe will consider me when they need training for their paralegals. So I said, sure, I'll apply. I had a couple of Skype interviews, and the recruiter called to tell me that of the 250 applicants, they had telephone interviews with 84 people. And of those, they now chose 3 of those 84, fly them out to San Francisco for in-person interviews. And I was one of those 3. Quite a compliment, right? They paid for my flight. They put me up at one of the Four Seasons Hotel, I think it was, in San Francisco. So I spend the whole day in airports and on a flight. Then I go in for a 5 o'clock interview, 5 o'clock California time. So for me, it was 8 o'clock Atlanta time, but that's okay. I was sitting in this reception area in this huge law firm. As I was sitting there waiting for them to bring me back to the conference room, for one split second, I looked around and said to myself, I just don't know if I can go back to this lifestyle. I don't know if I want to go back to this. It was just a flitter of a thought that came into my head, and literally I got rid of it right away. It was just a tiny thought. So they came to get me. We had a great interview that was more conversational than a question and answer session. I felt pretty good about how it went. A few days later, the recruiter called me and said they chose one of the other 3 candidates. And then she added, they really liked you, or you wouldn't have gotten that far in the interview process. So I asked them, why not her? And they said, she didn't really act like she was that excited about the job, almost like she didn't really want it. Now, I swear to you that I had wiped that thought completely out of my mind before I went into that conference room. But you know what? It doesn't work like that with mindset. Subconsciously, I didn't want to close my business and go back to work for a law firm. And the universe helped me out, I guess, thank goodness, because I absolutely love what I do every single day. So for your next interview, what kind of mindset do you want to have? Because that will help dictate what the result of that interview will be. All right, those are your mistakes not to do, things that you don't want to do, mistakes that could be costing you from landing that first paralegal position. All right, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, subscribe so that you get notified when new videos come out. And go to paralegal-bootcamp.com and take a look at our blog, our paralegal podcast. We've got lots of information out there for you. And I will see you in the next session. Bye for now.